Hi everyone, I'm Mike Murphy, Solution Architect in CDW's Intelligence CX practice, where we focus on building solutions for customers around conversational AI. And I'm here with my colleague Nathan Cartwright.
Yeah, and I'm like he said, I'm Nathan Cartwright. I'm the solution architect for digital velocity inside of Intelligence CX. Mike and I have worked for a while together, first in the collaboration practice with Contact Center, and then when we started up this Intelligence CX practice inside of digital velocity, we've both taken on different roles. So I'm the practice architect for the group, so all the technical aspects and what services we use is my purview, and Mike is our basically our pre-sales architect.
And thanks, Nathan. And we're here to talk to you about our Intelligence CX practice and how we do things like use Webex Contact Center with artificial intelligence to build solutions for our customers. It's really a unique practice that ties together a few Cisco solutions to create excellent customer experiences that really help our customers and clients differentiate themselves from their competition in the market. So let's dig in and talk about how we do things like that.
So customer service has really evolved over the past decade or so with handheld devices, social media, and services being active 24/7, allowing people to be able to access the resources they need all the time. And so we've really moved on from the IVR type systems from like the 1980s to a true omni-channel experience. So now when you get customer service over the phone, online, or through email, or even social media, the experience hasn't really changed much over the past few years. Many companies are still using those omni-channel tools as they would on IVR. So it's a lot of direct dialogue and press one for sales, press two for support kind of thing. Now we have a chatbot or like a voice agent, a virtual agent that's asking you questions related to sales or support. And really we get the same result, but a much better experience for the customer.
Yeah, for sure. But even, and then think about if that chatbot can help you, if it's not constructed well or designed well, then you're repeating the problem to a human agent, and we've actually made the experience worse. I mean, what's worse than having to say all your information once, twice, three times as if it's a totally disconnected experience? In fact, 62% of customers prefer to hand out parking tickets rather than wait in an automated phone tree and queue for service and then have to repeat their information over and over again. And that really, I mean, tells you a lot about the expectations for the customer experience, even if it's with a virtual agent or a chatbot, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what customers really want is pretty simple. They just want to be able to open up a chat bot or call into an IVR or intelligent virtual agent and be asked as, how can I help you? And then initiate a real conversation so that the customer gets their point across without having to go through all those menus that we talked about before.
So let's talk about some of the challenges that the contact center decision makers are facing these days. And when we talk to our customers, our clients, and we've seen a few stories emerge about why they're turning to these type of solutions like chatbots and virtual agents, virtual assistants, and infusing things like voice biometrics for authentication, really automating the entire experience, even though it's virtual. Even things like CPaaS and all the automation that goes with it. These are all in play to build that excellent experience. And really, the first question or the first obstacle or idea to look at is pretty straightforward. We're cloud first, and the business has given us an initiative to modernize. And what's our next step in modernization of the contact center? Those are what customers are saying to us. Really, that first step that a lot of customers bring to us, and how they're engaging their customers. And really all these things that we've mentioned and talked about, we're going to continue to talk about. It's the next big thing on how you provide customer experience in the contact center.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a really big desire for companies or organizations to really look for that competitive advantage. And what they're seeing is that customers are really wanting that personalized and consistent experience. So they don't have to call in to a call center and speak to a different agent every time, have to start their case over again. Or maybe you get somebody who has had a really rough day and they're not likely to help you very much, or very quickly for that matter. So what companies are really starting to see is if they use virtual agents, they can deliver a consistent experience with excellent personalization rather than getting a different agent every time. The virtual agent has context from the previous conversation and can actually continue on one conversation to the next one that could be months or weeks apart, again with that same consistent and personalized experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're getting your own personal agent if it's designed well and we leverage that information, like you said, Nathan, it's a game changer. Even though it's not a real person, you're still getting a high quality, personalized level of service. And really, we're hearing from our customers and companies that they want to do this. They want to provide these high level customer service experiences. They just don't have the staff to handle it. Managing, staffing, and scaling a contact center is very difficult. And as anybody who's been involved in that knows, it's difficult to keep folks in seats. There's a lot of turnover, and then the training that goes along with it to provide those excellent level experiences is tough, especially now with what they're calling the Great Resignation. Right, really hard to find folks to work in general, in a lot of fields. And organizations are paralyzed right now because any improvements that they want to make scares them off, because how are we going to get the resources to do that? I don't think we can. Let's work with what we got, right? And they're just sort of stuck in the mud there, and they're already cutting corners to try to stay close to meeting KPIs or whatever their service level is supposed to be. And their agents are spread so thin that their ability to provide a personalized experience is really limited, right? So the agents are overwhelmed, customers are frustrated, and we just sort of get caught in this rut of working with what we have, and the experience slowly gets worse and worse and worse, or is at least stagnant. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen that too, Nathan, and maybe ways that we've helped.
Yeah. So one of the things that we can provide with our intelligent CX practice here at CDW is be able to provide unlimited scale at digital velocity. It really frees up the agent for to participate in those actual human experiences, to provide those important things in some contact centers, such as empathy, and in making those judgment calls that really we wouldn't want a machine to actually be making. It really allows for those agents to take a breath and really engage with the people that they're talking to. And so when we're really talking about is not only the customer experience, but with that, we're also talking about the agent experience and how we can make their lives easier. And we're not replacing people. We're really trying to enhance their experience so they can focus on the things that they were actually meant to do, instead of those really tedious tasks that can get kind of boring and lead to burnout.
Exactly. Make best use to your people and make best use to your technology to provide that best experience possible. So when we think about this, what is, like, when we dig in deeper in like the whole customer service and customer experience, what does that look like, and Nathan, to you? And let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So what we're really talking about is when customers talk to a virtual agent or virtual assistant, whether that's through chat, voice, SMS, or even Facebook, WhatsApp, those kind of applications, it really helps customers navigate situations that that they're trying to solve, or solutions for their problems and that can be anything from like booking appointments to checking the status of an order, resolve some issues that they might be having by themselves, and we can also help the employee experience by tying in disparate systems and portals into one virtual agent, so they can just talk to that virtual agent instead of having to go hunt what they're looking for through all these different portals. And then if a customer really needs to talk to a live agent, the virtual agent can handle that and find the appropriate person to help them. For example, if a virtual agent's job is to schedule a doctor's appointment, and the customer's situation, or the patient's situation rather, is too complicated for a virtual agent to handle, then that virtual agent can go out and find the appropriate person to handle that patient's situation. And we can actually be very proactive with it too. So when you're talking about maybe a call center that, like you mentioned earlier with parking tickets. So imagine you have a call center that is collecting revenue for parking tickets from one of their customers, and you can really start by having that conversation with the virtual agent. But if we do get to a human agent, one thing we can do in actually both situations is be proactive with how we route that call. And we can really do that with sentiment scoring. So we can tell if the conversation is getting too negative, or maybe the customer is getting really angry, emotions are starting to come through. At that point, we can flag that call in real time during that conversation, whether it's a virtual agent or a human agent, and we can either escalate it to a supervisor maybe, or it could be assigned to the agent, the virtual agent, or really the human agent, to maybe guide that conversation in a different direction to help with that customer's sentiment, overall sentiment of the conversation.
Yeah, and that sentiment analysis is huge too, because it can tell you in real time, really, and after the fact reporting as well, but to tell you in real time how your customers are feeling about their current experience and even their product and services that they're calling about. And you can feed that directly back to the business units as part of your contact center reporting and analytics, and give them as close to a real-time view of these experiences as possible, which is important, because if you're going to be reactive, let's react as quick as possible. We'd rather be proactive, but there's always going to be reactive. And this is a sentiment analysis, a tool that lets you do that almost in real time. So instead of waiting to hear for these things to come out on social media, and then it's trending, and you get a tweet storm, and now your social media manager's got to put a lid on it, you can get out in front of these things before maybe they snowball and improve the experience. And your customers are going to notice that. And that's from, again, drawing the analytics and sentiment out of those conversational AI situations. And likewise, if let's say customers are looking for a certain feature or product, or you've got these experiences built where they're interacting with virtual agents, you can use your analytics to analyze those conversations and look for new lines of conversation, which could be new opportunities for you, better ways to serve your customer. Previously or currently, you're relying on agents to take good quality notes, pick the correct wrap-up code, document everything, put everything into the CRM notes, and then how are you mining that and analyzing it? They can do that, but as you know, agents' plates are pretty full, especially when they're looking and maybe they've got 10 more calls in queue. Sometimes that information is, not as to the high quality that we would like. So when you have this automated virtual experience, we can mine that information, package it into analysis of the whole customer journey, and deliver that up to the business, which really helps you draw insights, find opportunities, and continually tune that customer experience.
Yeah. So in addition to those analytics you talked about and that sentiment analysis, there's some other really cool stuff going on in the background. Like, for instance, take into consideration of like a bank, for instance. Typically, when you call into your financial institution, you got to give some kind of account number or maybe social security number and pins, and that it's really cumbersome, especially if that call gets transferred and then that customer has to give that information multiple times. So what we can actually do with things like voice biometrics is we can actually recognize the customer's voice in real time during that conversation. We only need just a few seconds of audio, probably about 5 seconds of audio, to identify that user. Then we can flag that call as authenticated. Additionally, talking about the agent experience, that in turn really helps the customer experience, is we have features such as Agent Assist and Agent Answers, which that is some tools that we provide to the actual agent. And so we have really two components to that we've seen a lot of success with, and that's one, live transcription. So while a human agent is speaking to a customer, they can actually see the text of that conversation in real time. And what this does is allows for the agent to be able to scroll back through that transcription, maybe grab out like an account number or a date or something like that, instead of having to ask the customer to repeat themselves multiple times. That transcription also applies to the virtual agent. So while the customer's talking to the virtual agent and they do need to get transferred to a human, we can use things like Webex Experience Manager to pass that transcription of the virtual agent's conversation to the human agent to pick off right where it left off, without, again, having to ask the customer to repeat themselves.
Yeah, and that's huge. And going back to that agent assist use case, or where let's say you and I are an agent and a customer having a conversation, and our virtual agent's just listening, it can really do some powerful things to assist that agent. You're thinking, well, aren't we trying to assist the customer? You bet we are. But by empowering that agent and freeing them up to actually engage and empathize with the customer rather than pounding keys and moving the mouse, we can enable automation with that virtual agent to, based on the conversation in real time, pop up suggestions to the agent. So now the agent doesn't have to manually do everything based on what they're hearing. We can automate some of their work, so it's one click instead of 15 clicks. Now they're more engaged with the customers. It's doing these tasks faster than any human could be because it's programmed and automated. And overall, that tide rises all ships because the experience is better on both sides.
Yeah, so technology these days is quite a game changer when you're talking about the actual employee experience, like your call center agents, for instance. There's a lot of really cool tools in there, again, to, you know, really make sure that that human agent is there to, for one, be a human instead of a robot.
Yeah, right on. It's powerful technology, and use cases are coming forward every day that goes on. We find more and more ways to use this technology to improve the experiences on both sides.
Yeah, so it's really making the human agents really do their jobs better, and again have that real human conversation. It really makes their job less stressful and more enjoyable versus what we see right now prior to all these new natural language and CCI technologies. Is we have some call centers who have maybe notes or maybe links to different forms or whatever they have to fill out, like maybe in a OneNote or a shared text file. And so that can, with the agent having to, move around to all these different screens and, search for what they're looking for, or put the customer on hold multiple times, that can really get frustrating. So we try to eliminate that with the help of CCI and, natural language. The other big differentiator is customer service and support is really available 24 by 7, 365 days. So if you have agents that you leave at 5 o'clock, which for me this is pretty frustrating, scheduling a doctor's appointment or something like that, to where I'm busy on calls, all day from 8 to 5, and by the time I'm ready and able to actually break away to make an appointment or something like that, you call in at 5:01 and that call center is shut down. People have gone home. So, for millennials like myself, even though I'm an elder millennial, it really is quite frustrating not be able to get help or be able to do things when I want to do them with that self-service experience. So with this always on-demand customer service, it's meeting those expectations of, these younger generations to really, get them that on-demand experience that they really desire.
Yeah, so let's for sure let's talk about how we actually tee that experience up. We've talked about the use cases and the technology. Let's talk a little bit about how our intelligent CX practice ensures that right experience. And if you think about the word chatbot right now, it can carry a negative connotation. I actually had friends of mine, a text message with friends I've known for years, and sometimes you don't even know what someone does for their job. And if someone was literally complaining about a chatbot, and I said, well, that's what I talk about all day, every day. And he was like, oh yeah, well, then fix it for all of us. So just because the technology is amazing, if it's not deployed or designed the right way, it can actually result in a worse experience. And that's where you can get people just, I don't like chatbots or virtual assistants. Program them right and you're going to love them. So you can see why a lot of these turnkey solutions are popping up everywhere, because everybody has a vision of, maybe vertical wise or industry wise, how they imagine those chatbots and those experiences existing. And if the experience is bad, people are just going to do the old zero out and try to talk to a human as soon as possible. So a well thought out design and consideration is really key. It's the first step in any of this, right? You don't want to do a DIY and just say it's magic, throw it out there, because you're going to actually make the experience worse. So what's really more important than the technology is the process that we use to design and capture the use cases and filter that into a well-designed solution. That includes workshopping, connecting with the lines of business, capturing those most important storylines and initiatives. So meeting with the stakeholders, subject matter experts, contact center managers, folks in the line of business who really have a vision of what they want the customer experience to be and maybe what some of the obstacles have been. Connecting with those folks, following the workshop process that we've developed and building a roadmap to get that done. Now we're able to draw out the use cases and stack rank them on priority and complexity and work with customers to say, hey, here's how we see you executing this. Here's the information that we captured. And a lot of times they learn something about their own business. Wow, I didn't even realize that from the output of those workshops. And that's just really because conversational AI it's different from the traditional IVR. We're getting folks from A to Z, but we're doing it in a different way, a more personalized conversational way. So you really have to design it differently than your old press one or press two and your kind of static phone tree. And when done correctly, and then you empower with some of the automation we talked about, really the sky's the limit. So the design part is really where the real work is done out of the gate.
So you mentioned, customers not really liking the chat bot or the kind of old school chat bots, I guess. And my dad's like been the biggest critic ever since I told him like kind of what I do with contact centers and making those IVRs back in the day. He would always complain, I just want to talk to a human. And then, then when I told him what we're doing, this virtual agent stuff and natural language, he always griped about, how they never understand him. He can never get to the right place. And that really drives home your point of having the proper design and getting those stakeholders involved in that conversation. Rather, that is some executives, management, supervisors. And we also like to talk to, during those sessions, we also like to talk to the actual agents, the ones who are actually communicating with those customers on a daily basis.
So as we kind of wrap things up here, just a few final thoughts. If this at all sounds interesting, or you've probably been thinking about it already, or how can we efficiently improve our customer experiences, and then even your agent experiences or internal use cases as well? I would say reach out and investigate this, right? We help folks, again, identify their use cases, prioritize them, talk about a strategy and execution. So maybe you're going to crawl, walk, run, which is always a good approach, especially if you're getting into technology that's new and maybe you got to win some mind share. It's what we do all day, every day. We can talk about the workshop. We can show you demonstrations and find the right use cases for you.
I think you really drove it home there. I would just say, we hope this has been valuable and better than getting a parking ticket or waiting on hold to actually pay that parking ticket or going through one of those treacherous DTMF menus. But yeah, if like you said, if people want to learn more, they can go to our website, which we have set up. And Mike, you want to give that address?
Yeah, it's www.cdw.com/ICX.